company here, Total Interaction, and I'm going to be taking half of you as of tomorrow. So we're going to be splitting you up into 2 groups, and we're going to be able to do some intensive communication skills and coaching piece. This session is normally done virtually, but because we are based in Sydney, and you guys are based, Melbourne. Some of you from Melbourne?
Adelaide?
Brisbane.
Oh, okay. Well, it seems we're running this in Sydney, and we're based out of Sydney. It was decided, let's do this face to face. This is actually the first face to face one we've done globally, I believe. And I've done one in Singapore from there. So, as some of you may know, we've been working with NetApp for 13 years, which is mostly higher or longer than most people have been working in NetApp. So my tenure is pretty damn good. And started with NetApp here in Sydney, and then expanded out to Japan and China. And now we work with you guys everywhere. You are, we are. So across EMEA, across North America, across Asia Pacific areas. Now, today, just a bit of housekeeping. Sorry, John at the back of the room, I should say. John has been working with us for over 10 years.
Let's leave it like that. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So his tenure is pretty damn good as well, and working with NetApp for most of that period of time. John's background is amazing. You're very lucky if you get John. He is ex-marketing, APAC marketing director for Nokia. He's also got an amazingly interesting background as well, which he'll... Sorry? More?
No.
You want more background? He's got a great background, and he'll bring a lot of the communication skills to life in real scenarios. And we've all made mistakes, and hopefully we'll be able to have some war stories for you. Today's session is going to be it's still a 2-hour session, right? Correct. So we are out of here at 12. There'll be lunch served, and then you'll have another 2-hour session. And frankly, it's going to be much better, I think, than the virtual. Does anyone like the virtual sessions? Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes serve their purpose.
It's interesting. I would say about 50% of the people at NetApp say we'd much prefer to do things face to face. Globally, we're talking about. The US, on the other hand, quite like virtual, but everyone else, not so much. Anyway, so here we are. We work with a lot of IT and ICT companies. Is everyone up there? Oh. Telstra there.
Well, VM Tech is Telstra now too, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks.
You got the service
Len and I met doing a NetApp course. So I was training the partners, and he had just turned up. If you don't know, Len Finley. He just turned up in the country, just started VM Tech, and we work with VM Tech. I work personally with VM Tech to work with their guys to make the transition, which got them to the point where they got purchased by, and he made loads and loads of money. So, and he actually goes into Telstra. It doesn't seem to be in there.
Do you do a lot of work for ServiceNow because they're there twice?
Well, they've probably taken up the space of Telstra. Thank you very much. Right, moving swiftly along.
I agree in the room.
Thank you very much. Yes, thanks, Matt. Okay, a message from Matt, who can't be with us today, but this is what he... we work very closely with Matt on this program, incredibly close, and I'm going to go into it in a bit more detail. We started this program about 3 years ago originally out of the US, and then we did the skills assessment, skills review, or what's called an assessment, skills review out of the US, and then went global. And now when it came back to Australia, we've re-evaluated with Matt and the leadership team what skills are required to get you guys to where you need to get. By the way, you did very well. That's sort of that headline did pretty well compared to the rest of the world. NetApp's promise is to help customers change the world of data. The FC role represents the greatest opportunity to turn NetApp's promise into reality. And if you did the MTS piece yesterday, you'll know why that is. Because customers, it's Judy, that's a bit strange. Because customers trust you guys, the SEs, more than they trust sales, right? Which is not so surprising. I've always, by the way, personally said the investment should be in the SEs because that's the greatest opportunity. Iron fist, velvet glove. Anyway, back to that. SE Mastery Program develops the skills that make you future ready. It's built around that point of view. It will also be tailored based on skills benchmarking results for this group, which you're about to see. in my session at the back end of this 2-hour session. The more you put in, the more you will get out. And so please, if you could switch off your devices, that'd be great. Make the most of your investment. Never making you, because it is quite a reasonable investment, especially for 2 of us. And we, enjoy your time here. Okay, in front of you, you've got some workbooks. These are to have and to hold for all the different sessions. If you do me a favour, so you don't get them mixed up, just open up the front page, to the front page, and write the name on it. That'd be brilliant.
You must be a red? Definitely a red.
No, not on.
Blue. Yep. Trying to figure that.
I wrote notes on here.
So,
As we go through these sessions, very good. Back down on the top of you. As we go through these sessions, please ask questions at any time. I believe from memory from this room, what you have to do is keep doing this.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, before we all die from asphyxiation. So, no such thing as a stupid question. This is going to be quite fast and furious, actually, this 2-hour session, because we're mixing 2 2-hour sessions together. One which is going to be looking at thinking preferences, and the other one is going to be looking at skills. You didn't see the thinking preference one anyway, so some of you did do the thinking preference, but nobody's done the skills piece, or got the results. Okay, this slide isn't in your book, but the next few slides will be. Why are we doing this? Has that already been covered?
No, it has not actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm big on the why. I'm what's known for those of you who've got your HPI done or debriefed before. I'm quite high yellow, so I'm big on why. Why am I doing this? Why is this important? So let's look at the why before we go into the how. Some of you may have seen that. How many people have actually seen this slide? Okay, so for some of you have. All right, so quick poll. Who has been at NetApp the longest here?
me. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. How long have you been?
15 years.
15 years?
15 years,
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's pretty good. It's like dog years, isn't it? The IT industry. But not quite as long as back in 1995 when they IPO'd NetApp. Most of you probably know the story. Back in 1995, and this is a graph, time across there, and height or level of business value there as an offering. So back in 1995, they IPO'd, and it was Network Appliances. You must remember Network Appliances.
Yep.
And essentially, the pitch was, we've got a box, it does one thing, it does really, really well. Speeds and feeds. We're faster, we're better, better quality, good price. It's great in those days, because you get technicians selling to technicians. That's what it was all about back then. And the differentiator was the product. Now, how many people have been here since, we're in 2000. Has anyone other than yourself been here since 2010? Jules?
It's 2011.
2011, just missed it. Okay, but then 2002. Can you remember back? What was the promise? 'Cause
No, we can't. It's too old.
It moved from we do one thing well, and then 2010, 2011, it shifted because if you remember,
Further fast.
pretty. Oh no, that was after that. But if you remember, what happened was people started looking at IT differently. They started looking at IT as a cost saver, as a way of getting better efficiencies out of that. And the good memory, management less, very impressive. And it was kind of a higher business value proposition, which was saying, well, we're actually going to save you money, we're going to save you time, we're going to do more efficiencies, and it had this sort of 50% guarantee that came with it, virtual environments. Yeah. Okay, so we bring up to today. So, while this was selling to technicians, this is selling more to the finance guys, maybe. Certainly, slightly few more business people. What's the promise today? Oh, together now.
Change the world with data.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah. Empowering customers to change the world with data. which of course nobody actually says, right? But a variation on the thing. It is a very big promise, and you're talking to different people about different things, and it's more outcome orientated, these sort of outcomes there. So, the promise has changed very much from there to there, but now still there to there. Some people were employed here, some people were employed here, in between. Can you think of what is the differences? Let's just go from here to here. What is the differences in the way that an SE would approach engagement with the customer between here and here? What are the sort of things that would be different, would need to be different to make that promise come to life?
Acknowledge cloud
Yeah.
is a big thing in customers' minds.
All right. What other things would you need to do?
It's a lot more application focused. It's not
Right.
just storage.
Conversations higher up the chain.
Yeah, you're
Talking to
elevating
higher
the
people.
vision, definitely.
Talking to different people.
Talking about to different people, and what would be different about what you talked about?
Business outcomes rather than reducing the technology.
Right.
conversation.
So, here's the thing: almost every traditional IT company is making this shift, because if you're not the cheapest, you have to differentiate somehow, and NetApp is differentiating in the ability to provide outcomes, business outcomes, and connect all the plethora of offerings, not one thing anymore, the plethora of offerings you have to those business outcomes. Yeah. Okay. In Australia, I'll say now you are a little bit ahead of the bunch. But for certainly the rest of the world, what do you think could be some people's challenges getting from here to there or from here to there?
Getting out of the weeds.
Getting out of the weeds? Being stuck in the weeds?
Change your mindset.
That's interesting. David, is that because I said that and you've heard me? Is it? No? Really? Okay, so that's a big one. Change your mindset. So a lot of people will need to have a very different mindset between here and here. I remember doing a session in Denver for a NetApp, and this guy turned up late before we did all these slides, and he sat down and he said, having a conversation, he said, well, you're not talking about storage, you're having the wrong conversation. I went, oh, great, that's what a dinosaur looks like. It's like, seriously. You know, he needed to have, it was a slow and a difficult call for him. I have a quick question. Where do you think clients see NetApp?
First one.
95.
Over here? Seriously? Really?
Absolutely.
Really? Wow. They think you just sell storage?
Absolutely.
Okay, so a big one here is, one of the things John and I need to work with you on is, how do you change the conversation? How do you position it? How can you position the conversation to have that conversation rather than, okay, I want some boxes? So that's going to be absolutely key as we go through this. And the reason why we did the skills assessment and the mindset, looked at the mindset, was simply to say, well, where do you plot on this? So let's talk about that. Okay, you've already seen that slide. That's why we're doing the SEs. Technical team are more trusted. You've seen that slide, right?
Yeah, can we get that so we can share with our sales team?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think so.
In particular,
I had-
Google's more important.
I had a
That's the-
big, I wouldn't say argument, not an argument, but I definitely had a vibrant discussion not so long ago about the importance of investing in the SE community, you know, and how you guys are, I look at it as iron fist velvet glove. You know, if you've got the skills to do this, you're the last people think are going to sell them on something, but you're the best people to do it. Really, let's face it, the sales guys should be bringing the coffee. Don't quote me on that, and it's unfortunately on video. Okay, we'll bleep that one out.
Just for you, Paul.
Okay, so there's going to be a different skill set. There is going to be a skill set which was good for the past, and there's going to be a skill set that is going to be good for the future. It's not right or wrong. It's just one worked in the past and one's going to work in the future. One's for selling tin and one's basically for selling solutions. Make sense? So when you get yours back, when you get to look at your profile, please don't freak out if you've got a big gap in something. It doesn't mean you're bad at it. It just means that it's not really aligned so much to where the organisation needs you to go in the next 5 to 6 years. There's also the mindset. Thank you very much, David. Mindset. Which is, the mindset here is you're less likely to want to do it, because it just sits outside your comfort zone. And this one here is you're less likely to, sorry, you're more likely to want to do it, because it sits in your comfort zone. You know, when there's stuff, how many people actually like IT? I won't ask this question because you probably feel uncomfortable, but a lot of people here probably like IT. Probably quite like working on computers. I do, I love it. I remember someone saying to me, because I used to use the computer for a lot of video editing, and I used to take it home and I work on it. People, why are you working at home? I said, I really enjoy it. It's like a hobby. This bit of my work. The other bits I hate. There's always going to be stuff that really sits really well with you, and it's like turn on work, and there's stuff that's going to be turn off work. So what we're trying to do here is give you a snapshot of not only what you're good at, skills-wise, but what you're more likely or less likely to apply. Let me explain. Because you're looking a little confused there, so let me explain. All right, imagine you had a really high mindset, i.e. you've got an activity that you've got to do, like let's say communicating, having a business discussion with a customer. So you quite like that sort of big picture thinking, and you also have the skills to do it. We'd call you a master. So you're doing it, you know how to do it, and you love it. What would you call someone though who likes the concept of doing it, fits really well, and you know, sort of turn on work. They just haven't had any training or development on it. I'm not sure how to do it. What would you call that sort of person?
CTO.
Ooh, that's harsh. Wow. Good way.
No hesitation.
Sorry?
There's no hesitation.
Okay. Well, we'd call them a student. Which is, if we have students here and it's their mindset is such that when you do the training, they go, wow, this is great, I love this, I'm going to use it. And you do get people like that. It's just one of the most wonderful thing for me and John, because they just go out, it just sits, it just feels really comfortable for them, and they apply it straight away. Now, moving down here, less likely, your mindset's not really in line. Okay, what would you call someone? We're out this one. What would you call someone who has? They know what to do, so they've got the skill set, but they just don't like doing it.
Lazy.
Reluctance.
Well, a nice way. Nice way would be we delegate, because a lot of what actually, to be fair,
A manager.
a lot of managers, yes,
Yeah.
a lot of managers, because do you know it's like sales managers in sales. Do you really want to put your best salesperson into a sales management position? What you probably want is someone who knows what those good salespeople should be doing, but isn't necessarily, it just fits out their comfort zone. It makes more sense. It makes more sense. So, look, this isn't too bad. It just means that they'll just get other people to do it. And if they're a manager, that's great. But if they're actually a person who's supposed to do it, that's not so good. Now, what would you call someone who doesn't know how to do it and doesn't want to do it?
Fired.
That's right. No. It's funny you guys. Okay. I don't know about you, but I've done this before, which is you abdicate responsibility, and then you kind of look at, oh no, how did that all happen? Because just abdicated responsibility. So there's a lot of coaching that needs to go on there, and there's a lot of thinking change, mindset change to get people up there. So by the end of this 2 hours, believe it or not, you'll have a pretty good indication of where you sit in this matrix.
Can I ask, in what context are we doing that?
Right, so for mindset,
things, right? Like you might enjoy sport. Is this
would you
just
work? Okay, right, sorry.
No.
Okay, so this would be the skill set that aligns with the POV and where NetApp's promise is. And this would be the mindset that aligns with that POV and mindset and all the activities associated with it. So, let me go into a little bit more detail for you. You're here, and based on the work we've put together. We're going to look at, John's going to be looking at better thinking, then we're going to move into, you've already done trust advisor, better thinking. We're going to look at communicating persuasively in the next few days, huge amount on that. Expanding the business, because that's something that came out worldwide as a need. And then we're going to re-bench to the plant skills and see if you've been able to improve. Okay, so the session objectives then we come to this, which is this 2-hour session, is 2 points. Understand your level of skill set alignment to the promise, and understand your thinking preferences and their impact on the application of those skills. So remembering that will is one thing and skill is another. You have all the skill in the world, but if you don't want to do it, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. It's up to you. If you want to attack those skills, those skill gaps, if they sit in your comfort zone or outside, you have to sit in both circles. Let's do it then. Okay, John. Okay, no. John's going to cover off the mindset, but before we get to that point, skill set mindset, HPDI for the mindset, future fit for the skill set. That's how we're going to benchmark. Hopefully you'll be very happy with the results. I think you probably will, because I've seen them generally. I mean, everyone's happy with their HPDI. But any questions on this section of why we're doing it? Over to you, John.
Thank you. Yes. Just kick off.